Demonschool is an RPG with tactical battles whose art style meshes 2D and 3D in the manner of a fictional invented console. This is a video about how we came upon our art style and its thematic importance within the narrative. One thing I like about older horror films is the practical effects. I know they're not real, but they ignite a little spark in my mind. How did they do that? What drove them to do it that way? In the climactic scene of the film Blind Woman's Curse, there's a giant impossible swirling moon clearly painted onto a backdrop. The viewer knows it's not real, but it evokes something that's better than reality. I feel similarly about games on the more finicky older consoles like the Sega Saturn or Atari Jaguar. When something looks really good on one of those platforms like Panzer Dragoon Saga on the Saturn or Skyhammer on the Jaguar, I can palpably feel the work the developers put in to make that happen. I wonder once again, how did they do that? I wanted to figure out with Demonschool how to create something like this in a modern video game. What is the game equivalent of practical effects? Demonschool's team is full of people who appreciate art where you can see and feel the work, and I think that's the through line between practical effects and masterworks on complex game machines. So for Demonschool, we created a game with the artificial constraints of a fictional game console. We imagined the Sega Saturn 2.0. It would have certain things it does well, like blending 2D sprites and 3D backgrounds, but it would also have certain things that it does less well, like caps on frames of animation or particularities about which objects can layer transparently over others. Take a simple explosion effect, for example. How do you give it depth while encouraging the player to consider the work? Our lead 3D artist Brent Porter's solution was to create a 2D flame animation texture and then stretch it over a transparent 3D sphere to give it dimension. You get an odd mix of 2D and 3D that feels very much like it was created by a human hand. Sticking to these sorts of invented rules helped us to maintain consistency, but also a look that feels visually distinct from modern HD 2D games. The overall look also has a narrative element to it. Demonschool's core conflict is that the demon world is breaking through to the human world by attempting to merge the two together. Player characters in this game are represented by sprites, and though the backgrounds are 3D, they're meant to look relatively two-dimensional, basically like pixel art. Though this is never told to the player, our idea is that the demon world is three-dimensional while the human world is two-dimensional. The backgrounds being 3D but looking rather like sprite art is a subtle indication to the player that the demon world is closer than it appears. Though the demons you fight in battle are also sprites, this is because their power is diminished by the two-dimensionality of the human world. Our bosses, meanwhile, are full 3D. They're more powerful and thus able to more fully manifest themselves even in a 2D world. Every time we shift the camera so the player can see just how 2D the characters are and how 3D the world is, we hope it gives them that slight uneasy feeling that something is not quite right, as well as that spark I spoke about earlier. We want the players to see the work, not because we're prideful, but because we feel that the work itself is an important part of the game-making process. Thanks for watching. I've been Necrosoft Games Creative Director Brandon Sheffield.